Hey! So, I didn't do the whole Thursday thing because my schedule got out of hand. I know I've been trying to do a lot of the live stuff just to interact with a few of you guys, and this was completely not planned, right? So I apologize, but I'm just going to get it out there anyway because, if you know anything about Hopper, I like to freaking talk. And I just got locked out of my Instagram because they were saying I was doing something that I shouldn't do, not surprising. Not surprising at all because, if you guys follow my other stuff on Instagram and YouTube, I do a lot of crypto stuff, and I've heard multiple stories about people getting scammed, so I'm sorry about that. But the reason why I didn't go live yesterday was I got a phone call saying that I owed another 10 grand in like some medical bills, and it was from 2020 because I gave myself rhabdo again on the effing rower when I first moved out here in Arizona, and it should all been taken care of. But we all know insurance companies, they don't give a shit. They don't really care about your premium or anything, so they don't add all this stuff up, and so it just became a big argument, and I missed the live stream, right? Because I was arguing with hospitals about stuff. And, fun fact about me, I think all of us riders have probably have a crap ton of medical bills that are either haven't been paid or on some sort of a payment plan. I know there was one in particular, which was my kind of career-ending crap, where I was brought to a hospital out of network and spent a month in the ICU, and somehow it wasn't covered by anything. So that's been a complete nightmare. So I feel for all of you guys that end up having to go through some of the medical bills that come with effing racing motorcycles, because racing motorcycles is tough. And dude, I commend everybody that does it, even if you're, the redneck that doesn't have the money, because, what we've seen over the last week or so, if we've shown that it's not fair even at the amateurs, right? So you can't just, it's not the 80s anymore where you can just buy a bike and go race and do well. Okay, maybe in the novice class you kind of can, but there's been so much more influx of money into this stuff that talent is not enough. And I talk to a lot of privateers that have a shit ton of talent and heart and are ready to just go get it. They just don't have the resources. Okay, and yeah, in my title here, we're talking about a couple people that have some resources. Okay, so that's my kind of digression with, I really wish that they had a stock class or some sort of a full-blown privateer class, because even the amateur classes are not built for the people that are just buy a bike and show up and let's see what the F you have, because there are so many freaking talented people out there that can do well in this sport and compete against this. You give, I could probably name 100 people that could get top 10 at a national given the right equipment, right? It shouldn't be that way if it wasn't about as much resources. So JD and MXG guys in the comments, I appreciate it, all of you guys. Kale says a lot of risk and small reward. Yeah, but the reason why we all race is because it's that you get in the zone. You can get in the zone instantly, the dopamine and adrenaline rush. Boom, boom, boom. So I'm digressing. I just wanted to tell you guys why in the hell I didn't do a live stream yesterday. But let's just get into the nit and gritty. First off, I want to talk about Ironman. I know it wasn't in the thumb title, but I'm just winging it here. Ironman. This track is a make or break when it comes to Tomac versus Sexton. And why is that? Oh, those are 250 points. If we got 450 points here, you guys probably can't see. I've got 4 monitors because I do a lot of crypto stuff, and they're widescreen monitors. They're not just the normal 1080, so they're I don't even know what the actual thing of widescreen. If I could turn my camera around, I could show you. But anyway, you guys can probably see the points here. It's 1 point, right? With 4 motos to go. 4 motos to go. I think Sexton has got Fox Raceway in the bag. So Tomac needs to nail it home this weekend. He absolutely freaking needs to nail it home. And guys, you guys are probably going to think that this is freaking ridiculous, what's going to come out of Hopper's mouth. But I want Tomac to win. I want Tomac to win. I know if you watched my pre-race show with Coach and Cooksey, I was giving him a hard time again on the Yamaha, but he's a Colorado dude, and it's going to be his last season, and you just want to see somebody leave the sport of motocross on top, right? You just want to see that happen. I know Carmichael did it. I believe Dungey did it. And you just want to see that. Sexton is by far the up-and-coming guy that is going to be the dude to beat. And Tomac, I don't think he wants to continue to race motocross. I think he just wants to do supercross and then enjoy time with family, whether he transitions to the World Supercross thing, whatever. Just keep... it's just hard on the body to have 17 rounds, then 12 rounds of this, and then the MX of Nations. But he seems as if he is kind of knows that the end is coming, so he's got a goal in mind, so he's willing to try hard, right? And I've heard it from Chad Reed even say that, man, I wish I didn't take it so serious and I kind of enjoyed the process. I think Tomac is just enjoying the process right now, and that's why he's doing so well, is because he's in absolutely just enjoying the process. I think we could all learn something from that, because if you can think of a point in your life when you were just kind of enjoying the process and you were just in that state of flow, not just racing wise, but just every time, whether it was work or whatever you decided to do, you know, it just things just happened. It just kept boom, boom, boom coming out here, you know. So maybe that's a little philosophy right there, but there's a point away. They're a point effing away. I think Tomac is going to do whatever he can to try to win both motos this weekend. He has to. Sexton's just got to keep him close. You know, ideally, he's got to beat him, because I think he's got Fox Raceway in the bag. So that's where I'm going with that. But let's get over the animated track map. Personally, I think that this track is probably one of the gnarlier tracks in motocross. Have they changed the start up a little bit? Oh, no. The start is the same. That's a little bit of an uphill. I've got it kind of on fast forward here. This next roller section, this is kind of a blind jump that ends up getting incredibly rutted. The step down here is really hard for most riders to actually clear, because you end up going just on the very inside of it, and it's hard to just continue to preload enough to make it happen. They used to have like a big uphill triple, but it looks like they've taken it out. This stuff kind of goes through the trees quite a bit, and you have the shadows that obviously make it hard for people, but I think this track ends up getting so many different lines, and it's fast in certain places. I think it's really one of the roughest tracks of all. Man, it looks like they changed that a little bit beforehand. Oh, hey, look, we're going to start with Cooksey stuff. But I think that this track is going to help definitely with Tomac, because of how rough it is going to get. It is going to get gnarly, and Tomac shines when it gets rough. We saw like Unadilla a few weeks ago where he didn't do as well, and it was because the track wasn't prepped as gnarly as it has been. So I think this is going to help Tomac out some more. Looking at some of the comments, you know, Julius says that gnarly tracks equal Tomac. Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. So, sorry, Coach and Cooks here, or they've started a whole other conversation about stuff. And you guys let me know in the chat below who you think is actually going to win. In the 250 class, 250 class, Jed has got a fairly sustainable lead with 4 motos to go. He can make 50 points a weekend, right? So as long as he doesn't just eat shit and can't race, he's going to win the championship, which is what he should be doing. I really was hoping that Hunter would be closer to him where he could actually make something happen, but you can see his last few motos, dude, he's just fallen off as far as getting points, you know? So I don't know. I really wanted Hunter, but Jed is the little brother that he's got in. Hunter's in his shadow for sure. The big news is probably Hayden Deegan, right? Hayden Deegan is going to make his pro debut. He's going to make his pro debut this weekend at Ironman. And I wanted to go over a couple things. Racer X had a cool article that I wanted to show as far as Hayden Deegan. I really think that he needs to just get like inside a top 5. A top 5 would be a win in his book. I don't think that the little Deegan kid is fast enough to just sweep both motos. I don't think he's going to. I don't think that he's the James Stewart of what the sport used to be, right? You know, the James Stewart of old. I think he's definitely a quick kid, and he probably will win races and championships later on in his career. I just don't think he's there quite yet. I think the field is incredibly deep right now. Joe Shimoda has been showing how fast he actually is. Justin Cooper has, he's racing MX of Nations. He's got to do well here. RJ Hampshire, this guy just has, I kind of picture him sort of the Trey Kennard of the 250 class. We're a super fast kid, but he just keeps getting bad starts, bad results, just bad luck, basically. I think some of the top 5 guys here are going to make life really, really hard on Hayden. But if Hayden ends up getting a podium, that's even going to be a better win for him, but I really don't think that he is going to win. If he doesn't just flop and get outside the top 10, it is going to be good for him. But let's just go over some of this list, right? Racer X did a really good job. Mike Lessie's pro debut was in 04, and he had the hype. This was before social media. Could you imagine what would have happened with him if he would have had social media as to what it is today? Oh my goodness, the pressure has to be extraordinary for little Deegan. But he didn't do well, and I believe he ended up like, what was it? Maybe you guys know in the comments. I think he rented out Millville for like 2 weeks so that they could just practice, and he ended up finally getting on the podium after his Millville deal at Steel City. Then he ended up on the podium. I think there was just a lot of pressure for Mike. Therefore, it didn't really work out for him. Marty Smith, this is where, I'll tell you, because Marty Smith and Tomac, here, technically Marty Smith should have been the top of the rookie list since he won his first AMA National he entered, right? So it's saying that he won his first AMA National, and this was in 74. Some of the old guys in the chat, you guys remember Marty Smith. I wasn't born yet, so I just remember seeing pictures of him and what my dad was talking about racing with him. But other than that, he wasn't like an idol of mine because, even Bob Hanna, right? I never got to watch him really ride, so therefore he wasn't. Jeremy McGrath and kind of Carmichael and Pastrana were really, and, truthfully, Reed were my go-tos. Actually, I have to add Kevin Windham. I really liked his style because he just looked like he wasn't trying on the motorcycle. I would say Kevin Windham probably had the best style that I tried to like adopt my own technique after would have been Kevin Windham. So just moving down on the list, Jeff Emick, he got 14th overall in his first race there in 88. Okay, but we all know what happened to Jeff and becoming a national champion. So this is kind of where I feel is going to happen to Deegan, is he just needs to make it through and take a little bit of the pressure off, because it's almost, I want to think of it as when you go racing, right? Or you go through track walk, you get that feeling in your stomach, like, oh man, I don't know if I really want to do this. But then once you let the clutch out and you start riding, kind of that pressure and that anxiety kind of goes away, and you can kind of just go back to your abilities. I think that's what Hayden needs to do. And he's got a good crew behind him with his dad and everyone, so he needs to just keep moving forward. Bogle, 5th overall in 11 with a 6.6. Damon Bradshaw in Millville. Okay, I didn't even write this down. He scored 4th overall in his first debut. So do you guys see a trend here? The only one that we've seen really in their pro debut has been Marty Smith, right, in 74. Again, this was the time when I believe, again, this is my perception, is I believe you could have gotten a bike off the showroom floor and been able to actually be competitive, even if you weren't complete factory. But what's ironic about that time is I believe this was like the whole works era where factories could bring whatever they wanted, right? You could do anything to the bike, but now we've got this production rule, but yet there's still like an even larger gap between factory bikes and privateer bikes. even because of sheer testing. You know, if you saw one of my interviews, I interviewed Keith, who was a Star and Geico mechanic, and he said really the big thing between the factories is that they throw a lot of money at testing so that riders are 1,000% comfortable, and just every minute little bit adds up. They're not just riding something off the showroom, which makes perfect sense. I, kind of believe, amongst other things, like that whole CDI box and A-kit suspension and then factory parts that, you can't get. But, digressing. Justin Barcia, bam, man. We've been talking a lot about Barcia. He scored 9.3, gave him 6 overall, right? But I believe he came out swinging. He led the first lap. That's something, leading the first lap. Ernesto Fonseca and Trey Canard. Ernesto Fonseca won his first 4 125 Supercrosses he entered. Dude, that dude could ride a bike. It's unfortunate what happened to him injury-wise, but man, could he, Ernesto Fonseca, he was right up there with somebody like David Bailey that, honestly, David Bailey, I think, is like the best announcer that we've had. I think he's having a little bit of health issues right now, why he hasn't done so much more. But, and then Canard, he won his first 3 light Supercross races in 2008, right? Canard, he did a TED Talk. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It was a really, really good TED Talk because he's been through a lot, right? You want to talk about trials and tribulations? That kid has been through a lot, and with his faith and everything, I'm not really a man of God, so I will just straight up and say that because, to each its own, right? I'm like in the gray area. I'm the type of person that believes that with new evidence, you have to be able to adjust your views. And personally, I think all religion is relatively based upon, just good values that we all kind of share. It's very ironic that most religions are incredibly similar. Okay. So I will get to some of the questions here in the chat, guys. I just going through. We're at James Stewart, right? We're at James Stewart. We got to talk about James Stewart. This kid, right? James Stewart. 16 years, 14 days, James Stewart made his debut in Anaheim 1, and he promptly crashed several times, yet he persevered and kept moving through the pack. He ultimately landed in second. Crashed several times and then got second, right? You're not going to see that from Hayden. I don't think you're going to see that from Hayden whatsoever. The comparison between Stewart and Hayden, I just don't think you should have that comparison. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things, but that is not where I think is going to happen for Hayden when he shows up. Because again, you've got guys like Jet right now that are just on board. If Hayden could just get anywhere close to Jet and show that he can run the same speed, I'm not just talking about qualifying, but I'm talking about in just actual moto, that is going to do wonders for his confidence and everything moving forward. And truthfully, he's up against a lot right now because, we're through 10 races. People have figured out where they are in the pack and all the testing that they've done. Yeah, Hayden just did Loretta and has been riding, but there's nothing like racing with the best, and what I mean professionally here, to get you up to speed. That's what's so cool about starting from round 1. Truthfully, I think Hayden should have waited for Supercross. Supercross or next year motocross to go pro and really come out swinging where I feel like he could have won, right? If you would have waited that extra year and everyone just starts off from a flat plate, nothing on, I think he could have won. Because we're at race 10 of 12, actually race 11 is going to be his debut, I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's going to get close to winning. All right, but that's just what I think. You guys let me know in the chat if you agree. I am a Deegan fan. I will say that. Because I made a lot of videos about, Deegan's motorcycle. Nothing to do against the kid because the kid's just riding the damn bike. But B. Nelson says if Deegan gets a top 10, that'll be a win for him. Absolutely. Absolutely. Baby Shark GTO says, I love your channel, Mr. Hopper. Dude, I love your name, Baby Shark. I can't tell you how many times I've been hearing that damn song now that my daughter is, she's actually turned 15 months today, right? So happy quarter of a birthday for, my little girl. But damn, Baby Shark. Okay. Where was I at? I was at the list, right? Okay. Getting back to the list. Tomac, man. I know I give this kid he's not even a kid. He's damn near my age. A lot of slack, right? And it's just because you give somebody a lot of slack because you expect a lot out of them, right? At least that's what I tell myself. Second moto win, becoming the first rider to win an AMA motocross round in his first professional race. Contradicting Racer X, didn't you just tell me that Marty Smith won his first AMA 125 National he entered? But that was yeah, so most of the riders were rookies technically. Okay, so they're not really counting it because it was the first race ever. I think it's still noteworthy just because, you got lucky because it was the first race, right? But they're saying Tomac is the guy to win the first AMA motocross round. He won the second moto. I remember right before this guy turned pro, he was actually doing a pro-am in Colorado at Brush. Kid was super fast, but there was also a few riders locally that could keep up with him, and that's where I feel like that whole factory equipment does a lot, right? Because the riders that were keeping up with him, yeah, they had the home field advantage, they knew the track, etc. But then once they went pro, once they were racing the same races as Tomac, he was riding circles around them, okay? There's a lot of variables there with track roughness, setup, and resources is really what I want to say. Marty Tripes, Super Bowl of motocross. Here's a record that will probably never be broken. At age 16 years, 10 days, Marty Tripes won his first official professional race and the first modern motocross race at Los Angeles Coliseum and went 2-2-2, and there's a 3-moto format, right? 16 years of age. Boom. I believe Deegan is about the same-ish age. And I think he's going pro just because of all the hype. The kid's got 1 million Instagram followers, 1 million YouTube followers, which is astronomical numbers in this sport. If you look at like Kardashians or any other, okay, that's probably a bad analogy, but if you look at any other major professional sport, they have multi-millions of followers. But Deegan is really the first kid to break that barrier, and he's kind of setting the groundwork for other kids to follow, which is really cool. He's making history no matter what, but I don't think he's going to break history and make new history with even getting on the podium. If he gets on the podium, I will obviously bring it up in one of my next videos, is that I was wrong, because we all know that I'm wrong a lot. But you guys are asking who's broadcasting Ironman. I believe Ironman is on Flow, right? I believe it should be on Flow. Here, let me check my emails real quick. I should have gotten an email about this. Brock Lover. Okay, so dang it, dude. Disconnect. Come on. Shit. All right, now they're talking about the whole super motocross stuff. Yeah, we can talk about that later, but dang it. All right, my deal's not working here. Practice. Here we go. If it's going to show. Oh my gosh, I've got an ad blocker, so there's no ad. So here we go. Ironman tomorrow, MAV TV practice qualifying. Okay, Moto 1 is on MAV, right? And then Moto is going to be on MAV and Flow. MAV and Flow. MAV and Flow. MAV and Flow. And then Fox Raceway, same thing. MAV and Flow. Man, dude, they just made this stuff so confusing. It's just ridiculous. All right, so I'm done talking about little Deegan. I hope he does well. Let's get him on the podium and shut Hopper up. But there's been a lot of talk about Sexton going to KTM. The information I have from unnamed sources, because I can't release the sources, is they tell me that Sexton, it's already a done deal. 2024, 2025, he's going with KTM. But everyone else can't really say much, and Daniel Blair kind of shows his here. We'll just listen.
That if that's true or not, but I feel like Yamaha would throw everything at him, Starwood, Cowie. I mean, I feel like they all would, including Honda.
I don't think he's at Honda in 2024, though.
I don't see that one either.
And, they kind of go on to talk about, hey, Jet is the up-and-coming kid, and that's why Sexton wants to be the elite cream of the crop and move on to better things. And what's crazy about this sport is you can't have two riders. You can't have two A riders. It's always you've got like an A rider and a B rider, right, on the team. That's just kind of the dynamic. And that's why I think in Supercross, it was very hard for Ferrandis and Tomac because they both wanted to be A riders. Ferrandis just came off of a championship motocross winning season. Tomac is coming off of a Supercross, winning season. So it's like, or was it Webb? Anyway, those both guys that thought that they were elites, and it's hard to have a team full of just elites. They're going to make it difficult. I just have heard it from inside the pits from people. They just make it difficult, right? So, what do you guys think? Is the source correct that Sexton is on KTM? They would have to spend buku money from him because I believe Webb is wanting to go back to Yamaha, because he's not happy with the KTM. I know Sexton's not happy with his Honda over the Supercross setup that he has, but his Honda's doing well in motocross right now. He might actually have a championship here by the end of September. And man, that's going to be, I didn't even think about that, but these two guys, somebody before Motocross of Nations is going to have a number 1 plate, and the other rider is going to have to sit next to him and call him a teammate. Ooh, talk about, this sport is full of ego, and it just fills your ego out completely. How would you like to be sitting underneath the USA tent and having to look at somebody square in the face and that guy go, hey, I got the championship, you didn't? That is going to happen. Ooh. Oh, that's just fun to think about. Truthfully, though, I do think that Sexton is going to KTM. I think he's getting paid buku bucks to do it. I don't know where Kenny is going to land because I think Kenny is kind of one of those guys that is going to end up filling a spot where he can, unfortunately. And it's just a bummer because that guy is a coulda, woulda, shoulda. What would his career have been if he didn't end up breaking both of his wrists as bad as he did? Because even that Supercross season that he was in, dude, he was the guy to beat. He was the Jet Lawrence of the 450 class in Supercross. He just could not be beat when he was on. And it was a bummer. And, I did release news that Dungey is going back with KTM and he's going to race 2023 Supercross. I've been told that is a done, signed deal. I guess you can't be 100% certain until actually KTM and Dungey themselves release it. But again, my source is saying it's a done, signed, boom, checks cleared, done deal. I don't know if Dungey's probably getting the money that he used to get, but he's still getting something. And again, trying to retire at 26 years old, it's incredibly difficult to do so. So power to him. I'm hoping he ends up finishing on the podium, at least in the next 4 motos sometime. I do think Ironman might be his best shot, just because of the technical rider that Dungey is. I think Fox Raceway is more of that high speed, just kind of more of a Carmichael track where you can just kind of be elbow down, wide open, and just bounce off some of the choppy bumps. That's just there in California as opposed to, Ironman, right? And if I hate going about this, guys, but there's been so much stuff on the internet about this whole deal of the points. I don't know if you guys saw my last video that I made that talked a lot about that the penalty wasn't really that bad, right? You can see he gets pushed off, but boom, he should have kind of slowed down right there. There's a lip there, but he got past. He got past and should have checked up. And yeah, if you're going to treat somebody all the same, which I know I talk a lot about fairness, the effing liberal in me that I want to compress and push down and not talk so much about that. kind of makes me think like, yeah, maybe it was a little bit harsh, but I talked about like, hey, he basically lost 10 points, which is what he lost in Salt Lake City when he almost murdered Malcolm's leg. Okay? That's just fair and simple, and you need to kind of set a precedent to make it aware that, hey, riders, we will not accept retaliation, even if it's somebody that has bumped you multiple times. Yes, rubbing is racing, but we can see a lot of riders that can rub and race safely. I've seen Carmichael and Reed. I've seen, Reedy and Stewart. These guys have raced each other fair and have kind of touched each other, but it hasn't been dangerous. But we've seen Barsha multiple times really make it hurtful. And yeah, okay, we want to talk about the whole Ferrandis thing when he was on a 250. All right, like 3 years ago, we're bringing shit up. 3 years ago, we're bringing shit up. When it comes to Barsha, we're bringing shit up that was 3 months ago. Not even 3 months ago. A little bit different there. You have got somebody that's in the same headspace, somebody that has potentially learned from his mistake. So that's relatively, guys, all I had planned before I had to deal with all this medical crap and Instagram blocking me for stupid reasons. I'm going to take the next 5 minutes or so and kind of answer some of your questions in the chat. I do want to say I really appreciate everything that you guys have done. I like to see how the YouTube space is growing. I like to see how even some of the big media outlets are kind of changing a little bit way of how they bring content out. Even some of the smaller guys that are bringing stuff out, like, we all have a voice in this, and that's really the only way we're going to make this sport bigger, is by more people, joining the conversation. So if you're anybody out there in the chat that honestly probably has more knowledge than me, I know there's lots of people out there that have more knowledge than me, that are more concise with words, that are better. You can add to all this stuff. So I encourage you to just do it. Just take action and do something that you were kind of nervous about doing beforehand, because it's only scary in your head once you actually start doing something. It's that whole analogy that I said, that you build up so much anxiety and nervousness when you go walk the track versus when you actually ride the track. The jumps all of a sudden seem much smaller, etc. So, again, another little digression, bro. But here, you guys have joined the conversation a bunch. Let me kind of converse with you guys a little bit. Rider D versus Danger Boy starts this weekend. Yeah, Pro Circuit versus Yamaha, right? I do think the Yamaha has an unfair advantage, just the bike. And, that's how all kind of racing is, whether it's F1 or something. Somebody has some sort of a little bit of an edge when it comes to equipment, or figure something out. And then, that's how even markets end up working. That's why I'm a big believer in, free markets, right? Letting the little guy innovation kind of a thing, because then that's how people build off of each other. We all build off of each other. That's why, Shamrock said that every man needs to have somebody to look up to, B, needs to have a rival, somebody that he can compare to, and C, somebody that he can teach. Without all three of those, you don't progress. You don't progress. But it will be interesting. I do think that Deegan is far above Rider D right now. I don't think that they're going to mix on the track whatsoever. On here. MXG says that, hey, I watch Johnny in here, but I actually watch him more on Johnny Crypto. Hey, power to you, dude, because I get like 100 effing views on Johnny Crypto. My TikTok, I get a lot more with Johnny Crypto, but no, it's because of the whole bear market. Everyone's losing money right now. The economy's kind of going to shit, so blah, 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 blah. But I'm a big believer in DCAing and investing in, if you want to buy tear-offs, go buy Bitcoin instead. Just take the $10 and leave it at there. Dun, dun, dun. Brop from Super Jet, like the name, buddy. Dun, dun, dun. Jet went 28-8, 24, 12, 14. Yeah, okay. Stupid. He's one of the names in the chat. He says that Jet, when he first turned pro, he didn't do very well. He was going 21st and 8. I need to look it up a little bit more. But yeah, pro debuts now are not like what they used to be, with the likes of Reedy and Carmichael and Ernesto Fonseca, Trey Canard, Tomac. those are kind of the outliers when it comes to that. Not saying that Deegan isn't an outlier, just saying. I'm anxious. Okay, Don Cheesy says what pro actually means. According to AMA license, it's about points. There is kind of a weird condemnation between, pro and if you just get your 75 pro points, right? I believe you can get 25 points or so, 20-ish, 25 points per Pro-Am, depending upon if they have more than 40 riders, and you just need 75. Or is it 60? Is it 60? Do you only need 60? Damn it. You guys got me Googling now real quick. It's been a while since I've had to do this, so that's pro racing, and so looking at the pro licensing points. All right, I guess I could have looked it up because I should know this. Late fee registration. Gosh dang it. It's anywhere between 60 to 75 pro points that you need, and you can usually get it done inside of 2 races, which is what little Hayden Deegan did. So, last ring. Okay, so a lot of you guys are saying that Deegan is going to finish top 10. I believe you're right. He's going to be top 10. Chase should go ride for Kawasaki. Really? I don't know. I think KTM would be a good fit for him. KTM or Yamaha. I really do. Tate says, why would Sexton sign 2 years early? Dude, if you can have just the feeling of, hey, having job security for the next 2 years, that is incredibly rewarding when it comes to racing motorcycles, because there's so many riders that even have won championships that don't have rides after the fact, right? Or for next year, they're just kind of stuck in limbo. It all comes together last minute. If you can sign something for 2024, 2025, why not? Why not? Because you're only really as good as your last race, and if your stock is hot right now, dude, sign it away. You should definitely take advantage of it while you have it, because there's no telling what's going to happen in the next year or two. And truthfully, we all know that this sport needs more investors to pay the riders, right? That's kind of what the whole World Supercross thing is trying to do. Yeah, Kale in the comments says it's money. That's why. Absolutely. It's about money and that whole job security. So, Okay, Sturman says, do you know why Deegan is running the amateur star graphics for his pro debut? I have not looked into that. No, I haven't. I believe on Instagram, was it Daniel Blair? I think he might have. Dang it. I saw a picture of his bike. I can't find it here on the live stream here, but I'd have to look closely at his bike. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't just go full pro graphics, because it's going to be a pro bike. It's absolutely going to be a pro bike. Taylor's saying if he's running with KTM, will he have to kind of give up the Monster sponsorship? I don't know. That's probably something that's in that fine writing. And truthfully, we don't know 100% sure if that's where he's going. I personally have a feeling that it is where he's going, but until it's released, I think Red Bull would have a hard time with Chase being on KTM and having the whole Monster deal. But, again, it's just all about money, guys. Oh, okay. So, Deegan. All right, you guys are saying in the chat that Brian Deegan has the pics of the bike on here. Maybe it's nostalgia reasons. I'd have to look closely at the amateur graphics versus the pro graphics. But no, I would say it's just for nostalgia. Absolutely. Just 1000% nostalgia. Next chapter in his life. Boom. Man, what a sexy looking bike. From the hubs to the wheels. You know, just clean bike. I wonder what's in it. Anyway, guys, this is Johnny effing Hopper, and you guys want to brop with me? We got to effing brop with me, guys. That's just what it's all about. You can leave the chat right now, but that's what we're doing. Watch the race. It's going to be on Mav TV. We'll talk about it. Cooksey and Coach and I are going to get together for I don't know if we'll do a live stream or if we'll just do like a pre-recorded, but we're going to do an MX of Nations show. So watch out for that. I know all three of us together, we kind of think differently, so it's always fun to do that. I'm trying to get some more privateers on the show as well to kind of help them out and give a different perspective, because I don't want to talk to the pros because they are not going to tell me shit. They're not going to answer the questions that I want to ask them, you know, and I don't want to talk to a wall because I could just talk to a wall if I wanted to. But bro, da da da, whoa, wa da, whoa, 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 wa da 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 da, whoa, da 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 da, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, you guys are great in the chat.